This video is our presentation of IBIO Inc. IBIO is an AMEX listed stock traded appropriately under the ticker IBIO. This is a chart that had a classic bottom play setup. Made a real nice move here in the beginning part of March, and even though it pulled back down to a support level, it's finding itself in a real nice uptrend now. Coming upon some pretty good resistance right around $2, but I think this is a chart to keep an eye on in the future to see how it performs. As we talk about so many times when we're looking at a play in this position, about it holding a support level, MACD trending back towards zero. See, eventually on the break, that's when a big move came. MACD still holding the firm uptrend, holding well over top of zero. That's a bullish position. Similar look with the PPO. ADX is getting up a little bit high. Now looking to push through 45. Positive DI up high, negative DI down low. You might be in a position to look for a little bit of a pullback, even though it's primarily still bullish, showing a lot of strength of the direction. MFI are in a nice spot, all up around 80, showing buying pressure is consistent in this play. That's also reflected in the accumulation distribution, pushing upward. Jake and money flow gives a little bit of a different read. Outside of this spike a couple weeks ago, starting to trickle downward a little bit, making lower highs. But it's important to remember part of what pulled that back in is there's some pretty heavy selling that must have come in through a couple days right through here, and that weighs on the 20-day average, which will keep the Jake and money flow at a little bit lower of a level. CCI dropped a buy signal right through there on the break of 100. Technically still holding unless it breaks back down through 100. The full stow retraced, bounced right off of 50. That's the thing I like to see. I want to see it holding the upper half of the indicator, showing strong momentum. And the tricks, nice upward trend. RSIs, as I try and point out many times, look for that break. When they all push through 50, that tells me that the chart's gaining quite a bit of momentum. Of course, that's where the breakout came. Still holding the upper half of the indicator. 7 and 14 still above 70. Momentum traders call the power zone. So the indicators are basically aligned how I'd expect them to be, showing a lot of strength and trend, a lot of strength and momentum. But there are some signs that some of the buying pressure is waning a little bit. So what I look for in charts like this is a resistance point that can be key to continuing a strong upward push. And then I'll look for support levels should it try and pull back and have the indicators reset a little bit. Now what I see on that is what I'd call a bottom support from its current levels, right down around $1.23. It was a support level last year, a little bit of resistance again in December, and certainly a resistance point here in March. When it finally broke out, that's where it shot up to around $1.90, and even on the retrace, which is what I mentioned about some selling pressure coming in, held above that support point and then put together another push. Now that's a pretty deep pullback, and that's why I'd call it the bottom end of what I'd want to see this chart do should another retracement happen. At a higher level of support, I'd be looking right around this $1.60 mark. It was an area of support and resistance in the past. It's just over top of the 200-day moving average, which is registering $1.50. It's not as clean cut of a support as this lower level, but it's an area that I'd be looking for it to hold, to continue to make higher lows and hold this firm uptrend that the chart's in. It also keeps it over top of the 10-day moving average, which is something that I look for in momentum plays. You see how this chart basically, since it made this second move through here, is held over top of that pink line. One brief dip right through here, promptly back up over top of it. So if a pullback happened, it couldn't hold that 10-day. I'd say the odds are really increased. It might come back down here and test this $1.25 area, $1.30 area again. To the upside, I think that $2 mark is a pretty substantial area of resistance. See, historically, support and resistance point, even when it popped through it back here in October, it really had a hard time closing above that level. Hasn't been able to make it through it yet this year. If it can push through that, I'd look for a little bit more around this 230 range. And then without scaling the chart back even farther, it'd be difficult to identify any other points. But initially, I'd look for $2.30 to be a tough spot. So a little bit of a lower volume play, 149,000 shares traded. And that's probably pretty close to average for it over the last 3 months because of these high volume days that have pulled the average up. On any sort of push and break through $2, I would definitely want to see volume picking up to show a lot of strength to break through a pretty tough resistance point. In the longer term, should a pullback happen, I just like to see some uptrends be maintained. It wouldn't even matter to me that much if the MACD broke this true upward trend, as long as it held over top of zero, maintained a bullish look to it, continued to make higher lows in the grander scheme of things. Could allow this 50-day to continue to trend upward, drop a golden cross, breaking through the 200-day moving average, and eventually, of course, rotate this 200-day and get it trending upward as well. Also, going along those same lines, this could be making a real large cup and handle pattern, and at this point, there really hasn't been a handle formed. So I might look for some sort of consolidation through this area, and that could actually go on for a couple weeks, and that wouldn't be that big of a deal either, as the chart just kind of takes a breather, and then I'd look for a potential move again upward to try and take out that resistance point. IBIO is an interesting chart though. It's one to always take a look at, refresh memories about why we look at bottom plays when they're in certain positions. Because when the indicators are showing a nice upward trend and strength and momentum trying to come into the play, moving averages pull together, Bollinger Bands tighten, those are the type of things that I look for a potentially much stronger move. And that's exactly what this chart has done. So as such, I think it's one to keep an eye on from here forward, see if it can form itself another pattern, and try and take out another resistance point. As always, this is merely my interpretation of the IBIO chart. Thank you for watching, and trade smart.